in the video you guys said you only need just that one friend. That made me choke up. Absolutely. And talk to me about that. You started a new school. You know, how is that like?
When you start in a new school, you always try to experience and adventure into new grounds. Because when you don't know, when you start in a new place, everything is new to you, so you want to get used to it and be there and know what you're doing.
So you're originally from Bangladesh.
Yes.
Do you think it's important for kids that perhaps that were born here in the States, is it important for them too to learn about immigration? What are your thoughts?
Yes, obviously that is, because like in the United States, most people come to the United States, many people immigrate here because of like many reasons. No one would want to immigrate to Bangladesh, like not many people want to do that. People want to come to the United States because they have a lot of opportunities and stuff, and it's not just part of the immigrants' life, it's also part of the people who are also not immigrants, because those are the people that are like around you and stuff. So they also need to be aware of it, because they can't just be like living in the shadow of that. Like they need to be aware.
So Prince, in the video you were talking about how, you know, sometimes kids bully because they just don't know, right? How do you deal with that? And perhaps like, what advice do you give to some of the kids when they first get here and they're trying to adjust to American new life and they have to deal with some of this?
I would say to always be open-minded, because like you just come here and you're used to having one thing, not that much people around you, but when you come to school here, you start with many kids, so I think you should be open-minded to the new ideas, the new cultures you see there.
To teachers. Perhaps teachers that may not come from similar backgrounds, okay? What especially do you want them to know about how they can help new immigrants, refugees, new Americans? What would be helpful to them?
I felt very isolated, and I guess the teacher never really meant to isolate me, but because of the fact whenever you're doing something with other students, even if you know that student wouldn't know what's going on, just make sure they're there. Don't just be like, oh, they won't understand it, there's no point in them being there. Everyone should be included, and I don't think there's a strategy or a plan, because every student is different. You can't have I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, because not every human being is the same. So just learn to read the room and just get to know the person and move forward from then, because you can't just have a plan and it's not gonna work for everyone.
If you had a chance to tell your story to President Donald Trump, what would you want him to know about new Americans, refugees, asylum seekers? What would you want him to know about that could make an impact for these future kids hoping to come to the U.S.? What would you tell them about your story that could be helpful?
I think for Donald Trump, I would say you should be more open to people with different cultures, because right now there's many singers and rappers who are from different countries and they're growing like crazy, and kids, as you say, youth is the next leaders, and we should be more sophisticated to see the kids grow and work from what the adults are doing, because if the adults are bad influence, it's going to turn back to them and be the same. So I think they should be setting a good example for the kids right now.
I'm pretty sure Donald Trump is aware of the stories and the pains and everything, and every person's story. So I don't think I would go there and tell him the pains of mine, because I'm sure that won't strike a chord for him. But Donald Trump, I see he looks at the advantage of things. So I think I would bring up people who are immigrants and show them the impact that they have done, so he can see the impact that immigrants can make, because obviously touching the heart isn't what the best for him. So that's what I think.
Oh, bring it, keep going.
So yeah, I could just bring up leaders who are not not like originally from the United States, and people who are from the United States. There are a lot of people who are working with others who are not originally from the United States, and like how teamwork and like how they're, and like let's say if one of us in like comes something in the future, like an important person or something, before they say that we're Bengali, like I'm Bengali or something, that they're gonna say we're Americans, and then that's gonna come afterwards. So like before anything, the title of us being American, the title of us learning in America, like America's gonna like be impacted. It's not we're not gonna be like the people from our original wherever we're from. They're gonna feel proud, but in the end, they're gonna say we're Americans. So like I don't see why there's a win-win for everybody. So.
Right, these labels kind of just act as a divider sometimes. We're all Americans. You guys need to be legislators. You really do. Yes, they will. So schools, we can't do it at all. We can't do it all. We need our partnerships. We need collaborations between pro bono attorneys, grassroots organizations, the list goes on. What do we need to strategize and work together to really push forward?
Sometimes it's difficult because people don't understand that. And like you said before, even though Buffalo has been a city from immigrants, once they assimilate into the American culture, they kind of forget their struggles. And these students kind of represent that and bring that in the forefront for our community. And so I think that being able to have those courageous conversations about that and how they're feeling, and what we always try to do at School 45, coming from Nadia, is never to lose your language, that is a strength, and that because that was the old way. You're in America now, you don't need English, and you don't need your language, you have to learn English. We're speaking English here. And you do hear that still out in the community. And so we want to change that to see how they can be a great force in our economy, in our education. They bring great ideas, and they're only different because they don't know English, really. They are still somebody that is intelligent and has aspirations and can be a great benefit to our community.
Sometimes they assimilate, and they forget. But we have a lot of great individuals who are from those backgrounds, who are, like yourself, working closely with these children. What would you say to teachers that are really have a really great heart and they really want to be a part of the growth for these children, but they may not sure how to use maybe their teachings that they used in school, or because I'm sure they don't teach this. They don't teach this when you go to school to be an educator. Talk to me about that.
So School 45 is a perfect example of that, because many of the teachers that are there have a heart and a passion for this population, and they go out of their way, they go to their homes, they do things on the weekends and after school with them. And then every year, because we have a large school, we have 1,100 students, we get new teachers, and the great thing about School 45 is the teachers help each other. And it's something that you don't learn in the textbooks, but you have to learn, what's expected in certain cultures. Because many teachers want students to look at them, and in many cultures, that's disrespectful. So we have a lot of, when teachers get on their teams, they kind of help each other and give them the ideas.
A lot of the parents, sometimes they see the teachers, educators, as an authoritative figure, right? So they kind of pull back. In American culture, parents are front and center. My kid is taking this class, I want them to do this. Yeah, it's opposite, right? What advice would you give these parents that, in their culture, it's been the opposite? And it's not seen as combating. You're working for your child.
It's true. And then by speaking their language, and the leaders of the community connecting as a partner to the schools, also the agencies like refugee agencies, they need to educate them, and they need to melt the ice to make them really interact with the activities that the school generously been offering all the families, for all ages. They are open for them. So I truly ask them, please step forward and get into the resources that are available for you and get whatever that nourish your life with education, with the new terms, a new interpretation of being like displaced. You are not displaced, you are rerouting yourself. So these are the resources that are available, and I wish that every single family would have benefit and access to the resources that have been generously offered here in the schools, especially community schools. They are wonderful. I myself took some families here and they became addicted to the activities that they were having them. And the Saturdays they were not open. They say, why they don't open this Saturday?
Do you think that it might be helpful, and perhaps, I don't know, maybe it already exists, but perhaps like a toolkit or a step-by-step for those parents that we wish to empower them to not fall back because that's what they're used to in their home country. Is there something like that that exists?
Help them understand, what an education pathway looks like in the United States, so that if you want to go to a coding program at Bennett, for example, or if you want to, if you're interested in bioinformatics or whatever the case may be, that there really are amazing pathways available in the city so that they can really start to plan and, with their child for the future. And that's part of what we try to do when we partner with adult ed and talk to parents.
The DREAM Act has passed, okay? This gives state-level protection for kids to have government scholarships. This can be life-changing. New doors are a possibility for them to walk through. Talk to me about that. How can educators as well help steer their kids in the direction of, hey, well, if they say, I can't afford it, I can't go to school, well, you can.
The New York DREAM Act is huge. It is something that everyone should know about. Not every undocumented person, but everybody, because you may have a friend, you may have a family member, and the fact that somebody does not have to pay out of their pocket for college anymore, as Samantha said, will change the trajectory of their life because we know the opportunities that college brings. So as part of this work, we now have a new project. It's called CUNY I, the CUNY Initiative on Immigration and Education. So stay tuned. It's a nephew of CUNY NYSIP, perhaps. And what we're going to be doing is creating posters that schools can put up everywhere about the New York DREAM Act, so everybody knows that everyone in New York State, regardless of your status, can have access to go to college and should have that choice.
You're there to educate, but you're working with the whole child. All their needs are being met. Did they have a safe place to sleep? Did they eat dinner last night? Did they have breakfast? Are they couch surfing? There's a lot you have to unpack before you can start with your day's lesson plan. You guys do an amazing job. So students from all over the world come to Lafayette. As they're navigating to learn English, they're also learning the dynamics of becoming new Americans while still being true to themselves and their original, their identities, where their parents come from, their culture. Sometimes they're like in a hybrid, one like here, one like there. I like to eat this food, but I also like pasta now, right? But Buffalo's doing amazing things. With the toolkit that Alicia talked about, and all the wonderful elements that you guys bring to the table, do you think that Buffalo School District can set the stage for New York State or perhaps other cities around the country as a model in receiving new immigrant kids?
So one of the other hats that I wear is as the president of the New York State Association for Bilingual Education, and I take a lot of pride in being a state leader in bilingual education. And so it allows me, though, to kind of widen my purview and look at the state as a whole with the connections in other districts, Syracuse, Rochester, New York City. And I think that Buffalo is doing tremendous work, and we are highlighting what we're doing here. One of the biggest things, and I think it was referred to earlier, is that New York City is a different animal, it's a different dynamic, but they guide a lot of what's done at the state level. And so a lot of the translations and resources that are available to us are in languages that are not our top 7 languages. And so I think Buffalo deals with that challenge every day. We rise to the occasion, and we do what we need to do for our students, no matter what that translation or interpretation may look like, but we make sure that we do that. And so we face challenges that sometimes in New York City, please believe me, they have their own challenges and things that they're dealing with. But I think that we've set the stage there. I think also the partnerships that we've established with our institutions of higher education, with Buffalo State, with Niagara University that's here, that's also something that we are highlighting. And we've been a part of presentations and different events to say, hey, look, here's what Buffalo has done. Here's how we're partnering at the community level and with colleges and universities to build pathways for teachers to become E&L teachers, for bilingual teachers, because we know that we have a need. And not just that, but how are we addressing the needs of our immigrants and our refugee students? And so I think that we are a model. I think that we're heading that direction. I can say that there are other districts looking at the work that we're doing, and we're proud of how we're elevating our immigrant and refugee students.
Our Buffalo students are amazing Buffalo educators, advocating for today, for tomorrow's Americans. Can I get a round of applause?